Welcome back to Klepper's Corner, the show where we don't just revisit history, we interrogate it like a TSA agent who just found a 3-ounce shampoo bottle labeled Anarchist Hair Gel. Today's date is July 10th, which sounds like any other summer Tuesday, until you realize that across time and space, July 10th has been the setting for so much history, it might as well come with a spoiler warning. Let's dive into what makes this date a recurring historical hotspot. Segment 1. Emperor Hadrian dies, Rome stops expanding, tourists start flooding. July 10th, 138 AD, Roman Emperor Hadrian dies of heart failure. His reign, less Julius Caesar, conqueror of Gaul, and more Bob Vila Empire edition. This guy didn't just build walls, he built a great wall of not my problem across northern Britain. And after his death, Rome dialed down the expansion, which is the ancient equivalent of a fast food chain deciding, you know what, we're good. We don't need a Caesar's palace in Greenland. Instead of waging wars, Hadrian was consolidating power and infrastructure like he was the COO of Ancient Empire, Inc. It turns out you don't need more territory when you already have half the known world and a budget deficit the size of Cleopatra's eyeliner bill. Segment 2. Dublin gets founded by a tax agreement the IRS approves. Flash forward to 988 AD, when Norse king Gluniarn agrees to recognize Irish High King, Mael Saicnail Mac Domhnaill. And how do they cement this historic moment? With taxes. Because nothing says I love you like a revenue-sharing agreement. The foundation of Dublin was less about swords and more about spreadsheets. Honestly, it's the most bureaucratically Irish way to found a city. Sure, we could pillage, but let's negotiate a local taxation system instead. Segment 3, London learns the hard way that fire codes are important. 1212, the Great Fire of Southwark tears through London like a flaming squirrel through a match factory. Homes, gone. Bridge, toast. Firefighting technology, let's just say it was slightly more advanced than wishful thinking. This was a tragic moment that taught absolutely no one anything until 1666, which is very on brand for humanity. We've learned our lesson, eventually, in a few centuries, maybe. Segment 4, Lady Jane Grey becomes queen for 9 whole days. 1553, Lady Jane Grey, the original temp monarch, is declared Queen of England. Her reign lasted 9 days, or as it's known in British history, slightly longer than a pot of tea. She didn't even want the job. She was basically forced into being queen, like a kid being told to eat vegetables with a knife to her inheritance. Turns out the public prefers legitimacy over legal loopholes. Who knew? Segment 5, William of Orange, killed by a bullet, not a fruit. 1584. William I of Orange gets assassinated in Delft. He was the face of the Dutch revolt, and after his death, the revolt kept going, like a zombie uprising with windmills. Because when you've got enough collective outrage and good cheese, even a leaderless rebellion can get things done. This is your historical reminder that revolutions aren't just about who leads them. They're about who has the better moral arc and occasionally better hats. Segment 6, Louis XVI joins the American Revolution. Spoiler, it doesn't end well for him. 1778, King Louis XVI declares war on Great Britain to support the American colonists, which is hilarious because France went all in on freedom just before their own citizens realized, hey, we'd like some of that too. Supporting the American Revolution was the geopolitical equivalent of buying your neighbor a new house while your own roof is leaking and the tenants are sharpening guillotines. Segment 7, Andrew Jackson's War on Banks. Populism meets panic. 1832, Andrew Jackson vetoes the recharter of the Second Bank of the United States. Why? Because he saw it as a corrupt institution run by elites. So he did the populist thing. He set the economy on fire in the name of fairness. It's like curate a headache with a sledgehammer. His war on the bank led to deregulated state banks, wild credit expansion, and eventually a good old-fashioned panic in 1837. Because nothing screams fiscal responsibility like, hold my moonshine, I'm going to nationalize inflation. Segment 8, Wyoming becomes a state, women keep their vote. 1890, Wyoming enters the Union as the 44th state. It was the first state to allow women the right to vote. Not because of progressive politics, but because the male-to-female ratio was roughly 87-1. It wasn't feminism, it was desperation. Still, Wyoming showed the rest of the country that you could have both spurs and suffrage. Segment 9, Battle of Britain begins. Hitler gets stopped by clouds and courage. 1940, the Battle of Britain begins. It's the first all-air battle in history, and Britain wins thanks to radar, resolve, and Polish pilots, who flew like they were late for vodka night. It also marks the moment where Winston Churchill utters the most British sentence in wartime history. Never in the field of human conflict was so much owed by so many to so few. A line so epic, it deserved its own action movie. Segment 10, Scopes monkey trial swings into court. 1925. The Scopes trial kicks off in Tennessee. A teacher dares to teach evolution, and suddenly the whole country is debating science versus scripture, like it's the Super Bowl of syllabi. It was less about biology and more about ideology. And even though Scopes lost, America started inching toward the radical idea that maybe schools should teach things that are true. Segment 11. Telstar Launches. Everyone gets to watch European soccer in real time. 1962. Telstar 1 is launched, making global communication go from Morse code to live transatlantic broadcast. It was the original satellite influencer, broadcasting images from Europe to the U.S. and vice versa. Think TikTok, but with static and existential Cold War fear. Telstar changed everything: the news, international diplomacy, long-distance romances, and eventually, awkward Skype job interviews. Segment 12. The Bahamas say bye to Britain. 1973, the Bahamas gain independence from Britain. It was peaceful, polite, and probably involved the Queen offering one last wave before heading back to Buckingham to Google how to lose colonies gracefully. Now the Bahamas are best known for turquoise waters, banking secrecy, and Carnival cruises named Fiscal Accountability. Segment 13, Greenpeace gets bombed by the French, no one says merci. 1985, French agents bombed the Greenpeace ship Rainbow Warrior in New Zealand to stop it from protesting nuclear tests. The operation was not exactly mission impossible, more like mission definitely going to cause a diplomatic crisis. This was the moment when environmental activism met international espionage and won the moral high ground by floating down into martyrdom. Segment 14, Boris Yeltsin gets elected. Then things get complicated. 1991. Boris Yeltsin becomes the first elected president of the Russian Federation. And just like that, the USSR starts to unravel faster than a knockoff Adidas tracksuit. Yeltsin was a reformer with big dreams and even bigger hangovers. He brought democracy, capitalism, and chaos. Kind of like if Jefferson and Elon Musk had a Russian baby during a currency crisis. In conclusion, so there you have it, July 10th, the historical equivalent of a 6-season Netflix drama with no filler episodes. From empires dying and cities burning to satellites flying and trials igniting culture wars. This day has seen it all. If history is a never-ending series of plot twists, then July 10th is the Sweeps Week finale. Tune in next time when we ask, was the Boston Tea Party just an early form of kombucha rebellion? Until then, keep questioning. Keep laughing, and remember, even in history, the blooper reel is where the real story lives.